Good evening, parents and guardians. Due to the unanticipated cancellation of last Monday's Board of Education meeting, I've altered the planned presentation to simply focus on the essential information regarding the reopening of schools beginning on August 30th. At the June 2021 Board of Education meeting, the district announced its intent to return to a traditional school year format, with all students receiving in-person, face-to-face instruction 5 days a week. The ability to do so was made possible due to the state's lifting of the bus seating capacity restriction and the easing of the social distancing requirements for classrooms. Social distancing between students had been reduced from 6 feet between students to a recommended standard of 3 feet between students. In fact, the impact of students not being in school with their peers can have such negative effects on children that it's recommended to seat them even closer than 3 feet instead of limiting their ability to attend school. Our goal in Brandywine will be to maximize the distance between students whenever possible. Ensuring student, family, staff, and community health and safety remains our top priority and has been the continued primary focus of our building administrators and district personnel since our students left us last June. In doing so, we will follow all safety precautions of the Delaware Department of Public Health and the Delaware Department of Education. Last year, BSD excelled in putting measures and protocols, often referred to as layered mitigation strategies, in place to keep our students, families, and staff as safe and healthy as possible. Not only on site, as we met or exceeded environmental control standards, but also off site in the habits and attitudes that we taught children in our classrooms, such as self-screening for symptoms, hand washing, and respiratory etiquette. Our resolve to keep your child as safe as possible has not been diminished and still meets or exceeds today's recommendations by leading health experts. Missing from this list is another essential strategy. Missing from this list is another essential strategy in mitigating the effects of COVID on children in terms of their social and emotional health. Being in school with their peers. How successful were these mitigation strategies last year? Our building nurses meticulously tracked every known student and staff case of COVID throughout the school year. As we reported several times last year, the number of student and staff cases were considerably and consistently much lower than the surrounding community, showing that students were at less risk statistically at school than not being at school. But what does the data show today? The number of cases is on the rise again in Delaware, isn't it? The simple answer to that is yes. But we returned students to school for in-person learning last January 8th with greater number of new cases, test positive, and daily hospitalizations. We will have cases of COVID, staff, and students. We will continue to monitor conditions and track data with the goal of having less student cases at school compared to the level of spread in the community. At the same time, parents and guardians need to know that we may come to some point during the school year in which we have to pivot to alternate plans should conditions dictate. We continue to consult with the Delaware Division of Public Health and the Department of Education, as well as other local health agencies and experts on a regular and frequent basis. In addition, our Board of Education tracks local and regional COVID spread and trend data on a weekly basis. Before I move on, I just want to make a quick footnote regarding in-person learning. Every year, the district has a small group of students that require an alternate educational experience. While we are not offering a remote learning hybrid option, we will make homebound instruction available to students who meet the medical criteria and are approved through the district's existing process. If you believe your child has a medical or mental health condition that could prevent them from attending, please contact your building principal to initiate the evaluation process and submission of the required medical documentation. I'd like to quickly share a few important district dates. You'll notice that our new teachers have already been in and engaged in professional development, ready for the school year to start with students. We have staff and service days scheduled for next week. Several parents have asked about bus schedules. They went to the post office today and should begin to be delivered tomorrow, Friday, August 20th. Fairly certain that most families will receive their bus schedules then by Monday the 23rd. At the elementary level, many of the schools will be sending emails out to parents regarding their students' assigned homerooms. All students, K to 12, will be able to see their homeroom assignments in Home Access Center by the 27th, which is next Friday morning. Most high schools, again, students check their schedules at Home Access Center. If your child doesn't have a schedule, they come to school anyway. Staff members will be on hand with copies of information to make sure that they know where to go. A reminder that there's a split beginning of the year, as we have traditionally done. On Monday, August 30th, it's the first day for students in grades 1 through 6, 9th grade, 12th grade, and our sight students. August 30th is also Kindergarten Orientation Day. And again, buildings will send that information out to parents of kindergarten students. Then, on August 31st, all students, K to 12, and our sight students will be back in school for the first time. Again, August 31st, all students will be in person on site for the first time. And then finally, our pre-K students, our youngest students, and ECAP, their first day in school will be September the 8th. So a fairly normal start to the school year. A similar schedule would have been seen 2 years ago, pre-COVID. And that's our goal. We want to develop and return to a sense of welcomed normalcy. And here's a great example. Marching band practice is underway after being unable to perform last school year. Just take a look at those faces. They say it all. While the bomb pop is a much welcomed treat on a hot day, I'm sure the real joy is from being with their friends and fellow musicians after a year's hiatus. Someone else's excitement Can't even be contained by the mask. That's definitely a smile with the eyes if I've ever seen one. By the looks of it, Mount Pleasant High's musicians are practicing, and last Friday's heat was just a little too much for one of those musicians. I can't imagine how hot it was out on that asphalt parking lot. But I'm sure they would love to trade places with Concord's percussion team, barely even breaking a sweat inside in the air conditioning. Monday was also the official first day of high school sports. Here you see Principal Mark Mayer having a conversation with several of his student athletes, and volleyball practice underway in the Concord gym. While just a few miles away, the Brandywine High football team and field hockey team got to work. In case you were wondering, we are planning on offering middle school sports as traditionally done. Just remember that middle school sports don't start until after the students have been back in school for a couple of weeks. Point is, we want to return to a welcome sense of normalcy. This is our goal for our students, to see them back in school, engaged in learning, engaged in activities they enjoy, and enjoying the camaraderie and friendship that is so much more meaningful and stimulating when face to face. To see all the fine details of the various aspects of the plan to keep students safe and healthy, we've placed a link on our district website's homepage that will take you to an overview of the Brandywine School District health and safety protocols for this coming school year. Please note that we'll be adding and revising the information on this site periodically through the year as guidance changes. Again, we will rely on DOE, DPH, and other health agencies when we seek this guidance. Any changes made to this document after this Friday will be noted in this revisions log channel at the top of the page, and we'll also make those changes in the purple font in the narratives under each one of these categories to make it easy to determine what's changed since Friday, August 20th. This is the main page where most of the information is kept. These are all links that will take you to narratives about those aspects of the plan. I will not go through every one of these, but I do want to point out some of the information that's contained in these, and you'll see it as you review these sections. Just like last year, our building nurses will immediately initiate contact tracing as soon as positive cases are reported. Their investigations will identify those who are considered close contacts. Again, a close contact is an individual that is within 6 feet of a positive COVID person for a cumulative period of 15 minutes or more within a 24-hour period. Individuals identified as being close contacts to a lab-confirmed COVID positive and are vaccinated will not need to quarantine, but should be tested for COVID approximately 3 to 5 days after being exposed. Close contacts that are not vaccinated will be required by the Department of Public Health to quarantine. Face masks are required at all times while inside district buildings and any time being transported in district vehicles. That means buses, vans, and driver's ed cars. Visitation by non-students and staff will be restricted during student hours. Parent meetings must be approved by the building principal and will be restricted to those deemed absolutely necessary. The use of Zoom or virtual meetings will be encouraged to help limit exposure. We are finalizing the specifics on our partnership with Quadel, a state-provided vendor for free, regular antigen testing for students and staff. Only students whose parents give written consent for the testing will be tested. More information will be coming in the next week or two regarding this testing procedure and the process for signing your child up for the Quadel testing. We will continue to ensure that you are personally notified if your child has been determined to be a close contact. We will also continue to ensure that parents are aware of positive cases that occur in the school. Please remember that we are not permitted by law to share the name or any information of individuals that are COVID positive. And finally, we need your assistance once more. Last year, we came to our parents when we had a real challenge with transportation, a challenge that, due to the restrictions, was insurmountable for us. And we asked our parents, if possible, to provide transportation so that we would have enough room on the buses with limited capacity to transport students. And I said it before and I'll say it again, boy did our parents respond, to the point where some of our buses looked vacant almost as they traveled to and from school. But without your assistance, we never could have transported students to school, even for the limited amount of time that they received last year. While bus restrictions are not in play this year, please remember that they will be seated, students will be seated very close to one another, depending on the number of students needing to take that bus to school. If at all possible, if you have transportation and are able to drive your child to and from school, it would be greatly appreciated. The fewer the number of students on the bus, the fewer opportunities for exposure and having to quarantine because of being so closely together. So on one bus, there may be 2 students to a seat. In another bus, depending on how many students are able to be driven to and from school by their parents or family friends, students might be able to sit every other seat. So again, we request your assistance there. And finally, the most important need that we have of our parents, and that is to take time every morning to faithfully complete this COVID health screener found in this health section on the website. For those of you who had children in the district last year who were in person, it should look familiar. It's the same screening tool. It's a 2-part screening. It looks first for symptoms, and second to determine if there's been close contact or potential exposure. If your child exhibits any symptoms, we ask that you keep him or her home, contact your pediatrician, contact the school nurse who will be able to guide and assist you. The same holds true for being a close contact or potential exposure. We ask that you keep your child at home and contact the school nurse for further directions. Thank you as always for your assistance and patience and understanding. We are excited to have our students returning to us for as much of a traditional experience that they can have under these conditions. If you get an opportunity, please check out the other link that's in the yellow box on the website. It's a new app that the district has in place called Where's the Bus? Sign up for that app and you'll get notification when your child's bus is a certain number of minutes away, so that you know when that bus is coming or if it's going to be delayed. And Jason Hale was going to do a presentation on that at the last board meeting. Again, unfortunately, that presentation was not able to be made. So take time and sign up for Where's the Bus app. Thank you.